you were just saying that you think deep down inside everyone isn't greedy. We're not greedy people. So why do we, like worship the movie stars that are rich and famous? And like, why is that? Like, why don't we worship the people like, you say Gandhi and stuff. And like, personally, yeah, definitely those type of people. Because people who have money, that doesn't mean much. But so why does society like just think like, oh my gosh, they're amazing?
I'll tell you a couple reasons why I believe it happens. And I'm not kidding when I say this. I believe that we're mentally ill. I do. I believe we're mentally ill. I believe we're mentally ill. So, okay, let's define a mental illness. It is a break from reality when you're not behaving according to what the real world is. If the real world is as Gandhi said, love is a force. If the real world is that we're all connected, guess what? You're going to walk outside, there's going to be a homeless person. You're connected to that person. Their well-being is actually in your own interest because you could be mugged, raped, or robbed because they're hungry. They're desperate. There is a sickness that they may have. So if the real world is we're connected, we're behaving as if we're not. We're mentally ill. I believe I was mentally ill. And I hope I'm coming out of that mental illness because I bought into a culture that taught me that when you make it, take as much as you can. So I argued for as much money on every movie I could get, and I took that money. Now I gave some of it away, but I believe that philosophy of taking is a cancerous philosophy. So we're mentally ill. Now why are we mentally ill? Why? Because that would mean maybe we aren't as smart as we think or as good as we think. The human species, folks, is 165,000 years old, plus or minus. That's really insanely young. Now, I'm going to give you, please stay with me on this. It'll be done in 2 minutes. But this is the history of life on Earth, and we are a part of that history. So life on Earth, 4 billion years or so old, began as single-cell life. Those single cells started acting just as we're acting now. They were very feisty and very competitive. And at some point, they began, quote-unquote, talking to each other. This was told to me in this film by an evolutionary biologist named Elizabeth Sahtouris. Elizabeth said those cells started talking to each other, and they realized, why are we competing? We're killing each other off. We're dying. We need to cooperate. And they started cooperating. Those cells then created a cooperative, which became nucleated cells. They had creation come out of that. Nucleated cells, the same process. Feisty, competitive, wait, let's cooperate. They create multi-celled creatures, us. We walk out of the oceans, we become us, and now we're in that same experimental stage. We're not doing this because we don't think it'll work. We think it's going to work, but we're finding, wait, it's not working. People are dying. We know that's wrong. Wars keep breaking out. Why do they keep breaking? And we're now rethinking. I think we are at that point in the history of our civilization, of mankind itself and womankind, where we're rethinking. And it makes sense to you. I would bet if you and I just talked alone, you would say, that makes sense.
It does.
It makes sense. That's why we elevate Gandhi, and you want to say, I want to be that, because you know there's a power there that's not in, say, just a wealthy person who, oh, their movie did well. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that walk down evolutionary road. Shelby, that's great questions.